and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. I'm Jim Day on the field. Zach Cozart once again out of the lineup for the Reds tonight. We'll update you on his condition as the game goes along. But the Reds have an ace in the hole, and he's part of our Elk and Elk storylines. That would be Eugenio Suarez moving back to his natural position, and I talked to Eugenio about it.
I feel happy because it's my first time come back to shortstop this year. I feel great, a little bit nervous because I never work out in this spring training and this season. Never take a ground ball in shortstop. This is my first time, but I feel good because my natural position, and I feel great, man. I can't wait to play shortstop tonight.
And Tom and Chris, obviously the timing of getting rid of the ball, I suppose the third base is a little different, but Eugenio, as he said, is fired up for it. He'll be hitting second. Tom Brenneman.
All righty, Jim Day. Can't thank you enough for that. And looking forward to checking in, by the way, with you shortly about the condition of both Zach Cozart and Devin Mesoraco. And you look at the Reds starting lineup tonight, Chris, and again, no Cozart, Suarez playing there. No Mesoraco, Barnhart again catching, and Jordan Pacheco getting the nod in Suarez's normal position now, third base. And on the mound for the Cubbies, had a very good start, his first of the year in beating the Arizona Diamondbacks, although he did not figure in that decision, allowing just one run.
A couple of different kinds of fastballs and a slider. That's really about all you're going to see out of Jason Hamill. He's a big, tall guy. He generates some ground balls. He throws strikes for the most part. Last year, he had over 4 strikeouts per walk that he threw. So he's a guy that understands the importance of putting that ball over the plate.
So a ball, 1 pitch to Billy Hamilton to get us started. Hamilton fouling away the second pitch. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. We're delighted to have you with us for Reds baseball tonight. 3 consecutive night games here at Wrigley Field. Again, a good crowd on hand on another chilly night with the wind blowing in off Lake Michigan at around 15 miles per hour. It has picked up more in about the last 10 minutes than really it has this entire day and early evening.
It's funny, here in Chicago, they give 2 weather forecasts. They give a forecast for the greater Chicago area, and then they give a forecast for that area near the lake. This time of year, it is always much, much colder near that lake. In fact, I'm not sure if that lake ever really warms up enough in the summertime to take a nice, warm swim.
There's no such thing as a nice, warm swim, but it does warm up under normal circumstances enough where you can get in, and that's where you'll see some of the kids. Although they have to be, brave-hearted kids, yeah, if you will, because it certainly is cold. 2-2 the count on Billy, trying to get something going. Reds scored in the first inning here last night. Good eye there on a breaking ball, and the count is full on Hamilton.
Part of the problem with Billy last year is that he was so anxious. He wanted to show everybody that he can get on base by hitting the ball all over. He's trying to shrink that strike zone a little bit.
Lengthy at bat here for Hamilton to get things started.
I'd really like to see him do a lot more than that. When you get 2 strikes on you, he can be extremely pesky to a pitcher. I remember Brett Butler for years and years was a guy that most pitchers hated to pitch to because he would foul off 5 or 6 pitches every at bat.
And Hamilton, a very good at bat to get things started, draws the walk, and now here we go. Hamilton only 1 stolen base attempt, a successful one so far this year. But you can rest assured it won't be long, although what are some of the numbers for Jason Hamill?
Well, Hamill, a big guy, 6'6". He's slow to the plate. He doesn't have a great move. Last year he gave up 15 stolen bases, and they threw out only 3. So it's a good running opportunity for Billy Hamilton.
Suarez came into this series rolling. They shut him down in the opener 0 for 4, but he had 2 hits and a walk, a stolen base in 3 at-bats, 4 plate appearances last night. And after the walk, Suarez first pitch swinging and pops it up, an easy play for Zobrist. We look at Joe Madden's team on defense presented by Ford. It'll be Bryant moving into left field. We discussed that a little bit last night, among other things. Fowler in center and Hayward at right. La Stella, good-looking young player. He's down at third. Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo round out the infield, and again Montero behind the plate. So now Joey Votto, 7 hits in 30 at-bats. And Votto's still in search of his first extra base hit of this season. No doubles, no triples, no home runs. And he has 3 runs batted in. Hamilton a hearty lead as he normally takes. And he was leaning and they got it.
Obviously going right there, and he's going on the first move, and Jason Hamilton simply just fired it on over there, and a good tag by Anthony Rizzo picks Hamilton off. You know, it might be automatic that Hamilton may attempt a steal right here, but it's never automatic on a big league level that you're going to be safe trying and make a stolen base attempt.
One ball and 1 strike on Joey. And Hamill going to work out of the regular windup, and that one is shot down the left field line. Over to cut it off is Bryant. Here comes Votto, and he'll slam on the brakes as Bryant gets to the ball quickly, and it's a 2-out single for Votto. You were down there talking to Joey for quite a while before the game tonight.
You know, we were talking about what he has done a couple of times already this year, which is hit line drives to right field. And he looked at me and said, you know, when I hit a line drive to right field, I don't like that. I want to hit the other way like he does right here, or in that left center field gap. That's his sweet spot.
Brandon Phillips now the batter. 7 hits, 21 at-bats to begin this 2016 season. A home run and 4 runs batted in. 2 out, 1 on. Just underway here at Wrigley Field. After the game tonight, the Reds will jump on the Big Bird and make the short flight south. Less than an hour flight down to St. Louis, Missouri. That is where the Reds will open a 3-game series. Tomorrow night, Tim Melville makes his second major league start. He'll be opposed by Cardinal right-hander Carlos Martinez. Brandon Finnegan will start Saturday. Adam Wainwright on Saturday for the Redbirds. Michael Wacha goes Sunday, TBA. Well, the Reds are thinking John Moscott could be activated for that series finale. This will be the final out of the opening inning. Walk a single, but 1 left. Reds nothing. Rysel to the mound when we come back. In the last of the first inning under their manager Joe Madden, the 2015 National League Manager of the Year. It's the third time he's won a Manager of the Year award. Dexter Fowler in center, Jason Hayward in right, Ben Zobrist at second, Rizzo in first, Bryant in left, Tommy La Stella down at third, Montero, Russell, Hamill the latter third against the man right now who is the Reds' undisputed ace. To quote Jim Day, Raisel Iglesias.
Well, he's coming off an outstanding outing. That was against Pittsburgh last week when he went 5 2/3 innings of 8 hit, 1 earned run baseball. And Pittsburgh was kind of a ball club that features a lot of right-handers. The Cubs, however, they can throw a lot of left-handers at you early in the lineup. So it'll be a little different challenge for Raisel tonight. They will be testing his fastball and his changeup.
You better start saying his name like Jim Day does. I mean, it's got to have some oomph behind it. Raisel Iglesias.
I can only wish that I could talk like Jim Day.
You're right about that. And man, he can talk, just has some of the Reds players. 2-0 on Fowler. Off to a very good start. 11 hits and 26 at bats, 3 doubles, a triple, a home run. And a line drive through the hole in the right field, a base hit to get it started. Take a look at the Reds on defense, and we talked about the change on the left side of the infield with that Zach Kozak. So Suarez back at short, and Pacheco gets a start down at third. Jim Day, I want to check in with you about where are the Reds with the 2 aforementioned players that are out of the lineup, Cozart and Mesoraco.
As far as Cozart goes, it was exactly what we talked about last night. Brian Price wanting to give him 1 extra day. He took batting practice today. He took grounders. He ran, deemed himself ready to go. He said it's all about staying loose for him. And here at Chicago, it's different than any other stadium. It's in other stadiums, you can go underneath, go in the weight room, you can run, but here they just don't have the facilities to stay loose. So it's all about staying loose for Zach, and I think with warmer weather, we'll see him in St. Louis. As far as Mesoraco goes, it's a different injury. It's a leg injury, and they didn't put a timetable on him. He was still feeling it today, but the good news is it's the opposite leg of the hip that he had surgery on. So it's a different injury for Mesoraco. We'll update you more on him tomorrow.
All right, Jim Day, thank you. I mean, I assume that's good news, that it's not the same injury, or at least the same side as the surgically repaired.
Well, it's good news for the surgeon. I mean, that he did a job, and evidently the surgery is taken, and they haven't, had any problems in the post-operative period, since he had it fixed. But anytime a catcher starts having hip problems, I'm sure they're going to be very cautious taking him along. Let's hope he gets better, because the Reds certainly need Devin Mesoraco, and that bat swinging it the way he can in the mobile lineup.
Well, when you look at 2 of the guys you're really counting on to get extra base hits and to drive in runs, Votto and Mesoraco, they have combined for a grand total of 0 extra base hits and 3 runs batted in. Reds need Mesoraco, who's their cleanup man. And now Phillips has had to be there, but ultimately, as the Reds get moving into this season, if Mesoraco were to be the same player he was 2 years ago prior to the injury, he's going to be hitting cleanup and not 5th or 6th. Well, the Reds come in tonight at 5-3, despite the losses here the first 2 nights. And this is one patient Cub team. I mean, you just cannot say it enough. They lead the major leagues with 48 walks, 7 ahead of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, they're just putting up big hit totals, big walk totals, big run totals to come bursting out of the gate, having won 7 of their first 8 games. They start the runner, so they won't get the lead runner. But Suarez recovers in time to throw out Hayward, 1 away, Fowler to second base.
Well, in this matchup tonight, you have the 2 leaders, team leaders that is, in the National League in walks. You have the team with the most walks given up by a pitching staff versus the team that has received the most walks as an offensive team. So one manager's smiling about that, the other one is frowning.
Foul the runner at second, and here's the second baseman, Ben Zobrist. Zobrist 9 hits in his first 31 at-bats as a Chicago Cub after signing as a free agent during the offseason. Won a World Series in a Kansas City Royals uniform last fall.
Really kind of an interesting choice for Joe Maddon to have Zobrist in the number 3 spot. I mean, he's got power all up and down the lineup. And Zobrist is a guy, he's popped 20 home runs before, so he has some pop. But you can make an argument that there are better hitters in this lineup, and if you reserve the number 3 spot for your best hitter, Joe Maddon evidently doesn't buy into that theory at all. They figure, however, that he will get plenty of fastballs from pitchers because he's got Anthony Rizzo batting behind him.
Well, the other part of it, Chris, is you mentioned that he gets on base and that kind of thing, but there are so many strikeouts, as we've talked about already, and you mentioned up and down this lineup, that you get guys like Fowler and Hayward, you get those guys on base, and now you have another guy who infrequently is going to strike. He only struck out 56 times last year in over 500 plate appearances.
And he walked more than he struck out. That's an unusual number. And you just love those players that walk more times than they strike out. It shows you that they put the ball in play, that they have an idea at the plate, that their strategy changes throughout the at-bat. So that when they get 2 strikes on them, they become a guy that really wants to be pesky.
Strike 2, good pitch on a 3-1 delivery. Crowd thought it was low.
Barnhart does an excellent job of framing pitches. Doesn't have a lot of movement back there, and he gives the umpire a really good look. And really the key to framing a pitch is to get your glove there in anticipation of where that ball is going to be before the ball gets there. If you're late getting to a spot, you're going to show the umpire that you have to jab for it. And rarely do you see those jab receptions called strikes if they're right on the marginal part of the plate.
He nearly caught his foot on that rubber. And may have nearly balked.
I'm wondering how long that move is going to be legal in baseball. They've already eliminated that fake to third, throw to first move. And you see where he did catch his cleats out there.
In the air, right center field. That'll be playable for Bruce. And he'll fire back into second, and they get the runner at second who fell asleep. Fowler. That is hard to believe. A veteran like Fowler, who's a good base runner, would allow that to happen. So the Reds will take it on the fly ball to right, and a missile unleashed by Bruce to Suarez, and out is Fowler at second base. Apparently the Cubs are going to take a long look at this, or we would be going to commercial break right away. All right, so we're going to break. Double play ends the inning. No score at the end of one.
Tonight's Steel Power Tool performers celebrating birthdays today. Look at the jacket. The Hit King Pete Rose, happy 75th, happy 29th. Chris Welsh, he shares a birthday with Greg Maddox, David Justice, Brad Osma, Steve Avery, and Brandon Finnegan. As pitcher 23 today. So Tom, I'm sure you'll join me in saying a big ol' happy birthday.
I love to sing happy birthday, even though I'm a terrible singer. But I love singing happy birthday to friends and family members. I'm not going to take a chance on it because somebody from Fox Sports Ohio and ultimately it would come down into my wallet would have to pay the rights fees to sing happy birthday on television. So Mr. Welsh, a very sincere happy birthday, my friend. It's always great to be hanging with you, whether it's your birthday or any other day.
Well, thank you, partner. I appreciate that very much. And Jim Day, thanks to you, and thanks to all, or at least a lot of your Twitter followers. Man, did I get bombarded with well wishes today. Thank you very much.
We never asked Jim Day last night how many Twitter followers he has.
It's 30-some thousand. I don't know the exact number.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Here's Adam Duvall after the fly ball to left off the bat of Jay Bruce. No score. We're in the second inning. Duvall 5 hits in his first 16 at bats this season, including 3 doubles.
He really, I can't say a pleasant surprise, but Reds have to be extremely happy with what he has done so far. I mean, his previous times in the major leagues, and it's short samples, almost cups of coffee, he sit down around 200. One year he hit a $192 his first year for the Giants. Last year he was a 219 hitter, but he did show some power. This year he's got you can just see the change in process with Adam Duvall. Stingy at the plate as far as chasing bad pitches. That one got by him upstairs, but for the most part he's been able to shrink that strike zone, especially when he's in command of the count.
First strikeout of the game for Hamill, and here is Pacheco for his first 5 as a Red. Pacheco's versatility certainly aided his cause in trying to make this opening day roster out of Arizona. We've seen him play the outfield. We know he can catch a little bit, can play virtually anywhere in the infield. Getting his second start of the year here tonight. Take a look at Pacheco's career by position. The overwhelming majority on the corner infield position. The 59 games in his career behind the plate. It's a pretty decent number.
And it even becomes a very important number if Devin Mesoraco, doesn't get over his hip injury anytime soon. It's nice to have a backup guy that you can go to that is not an emergency type catcher. A man that was originally drafted by the Rockies out of University of New Mexico.
And that is his hometown, by the way. The University of New Mexico is located in Albuquerque. That one is pulled by the third baseman La Stella down the line, and Pacheco has his first hit as a Cincinnati Red, a sliding double up the third base line.
Well, the difference between a hard hit ground ball right at the third baseman and one that goes for a double is a matter of inches. And this one just gets right by Tommy La Stella down there. Just can't get over to it. And Pacheco picks up a double.
RBI chance for the number 8 hitter, Tucker Barnhart. 4 hits in his first 9 at-bats, and look at that on-base percentage. Almost 55% of his plate appearances. Barnhart has reached base. And a liner that the second baseman will end the inning. Well, he hit it hard. 1 hit, a man left, no score. We head to the bottom of the second. Tickets to the next Super Saturday at the ballpark, April the 23rd, thanks to John Morrell. We have that Vodomatic Super bobblehead on April 23rd for the first 25,000 fans through the gates, and you can pick up a ticket for that series as low as $12. 381-REDS or visit Reds.com tonight. Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Tommy La Stella, the trio to face Raisel Iglesias here in the second inning. Rizzo 6 hits and 29 at-bats, has 2 home runs, 10 knocked in. 6 of the 10 came in 1 game against the Diamondbacks last weekend. Cubs will stay right here. They will play Colorado beginning tomorrow to begin a weekend series. That'll be a day game. And then they'll follow the Reds into St. Louis for a series starting Monday of next week before they come rolling into Cincinnati starting Thursday night. Ball coming a ways near the line to get it, and that's out number 1.
Excellent pitch right there. He got behind the count to Anthony Rizzo, 2 balls and no strikes. Rizzo's geared up for a fastball. It just looked like Raisel took a little bit off that pitch. Not a changeup, not a fastball as hard as he could throw. Kind of a dead fish variety where he just had a little extra movement at the end. Rizzo went down and popped it up.
So that brings up Bryant, who started at third base each of the first 2 games of this series. Much like he did last year, he'd play some third, play some left, play some right. You know, we've touched on this a little bit in each of the first 2 games of this series, but, you know, Chris, I have always been dumbfounded by sort of an unwritten rule in baseball that seemingly has been around forever. I mean, going all the way back the last 50 years. And you touched on it the other night, how, oh, you know, we don't want to move this guy around. You know, we want him to get comfortable. We want to, you know, we don't want to have his concentration affected by moving him in different positions. Well, don't try and sell that idea to that man right there, because here you have arguably the premier young slugger potentially in the entire National League in Bryant.
Outside of Bryce Harper, but yeah, I know
Well,
what you're
but
saying.
I think this kid has a chance to be more of a slugger than Bryant. Okay. I mean, you know, I don't know. We'll find out. Bryant, without question, a better all-around player. Nonetheless, let's say one of the top two then in the league. Trout still over in the American League, but he's in that group of five, maybe in all of Big League Baseball. He's the only one that's getting moved around.
Right.
And not a big deal.
Well, it's not a big deal because Joe Madden went to him and kind of cleared it first and said, this is what we're thinking. And Brian's thinking, well, I want playing time.
Slugger indeed. 1-0 Chicago. Of his 28 career home runs have come in this ballpark, and now he's homered in back-to-back games.
Got a little breaking ball right here that just hangs right there. I mean, that pitch 7 out of 10 times is going out of the yard no matter who's standing at the plate. But Brian's got plenty enough juice, even on a night when the wind is blowing in a little bit here at Wrigley, to get it out of here no problem.
Here's Tommy La Stella, strike one.
They're not being very aggressive early in the count off of Iglesias. They're making him throw strikes, much in the way that they did for Alfredo Simon and the rest of the Reds pitchers last night. They're taking a strike up there. It's almost like the Cubs get together as a team with their hitting coach before the game and they spin the wheel. And it comes up, tonight, take a pitch. Next night, swing at the first pitch, like they did against Brandon Finnegan. And on a night like tonight, when they're giving you that first pitch, that's the one you got to deliver in there for a strike, because if you get behind an account consistently to hitters like Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Jason Hayward, it's going to be a tough night.
0-2 on La Stella, who missed nearly the entire year last year with a rib injury. There are a lot of people that believe this guy would be a good, solid, everyday player if he were given the chance. He started that final month last year and hit .333 for the Cubs. Got a lot of playing time at second base. Played in 12 games, 6 starts down at third. That was all in the final month of the year. I mean, he was there in money time last year. And they were trying to reach a playoffs. Tonight only his second start of this year. He had 3 hits in his other start of this season against Arizona and reached base 4 times.
La Stella originally came through the Atlanta Braves organization, was traded over here in the fall of 2014 from the Braves to the Cubs.
High fly ball, Jay Bruce's way. Should be the second down. It is.
Tell you what, though, that swing right there by La Stella ought to show you something. That pitch looked like, to me, it was in off the plate, and he still got pretty much of the barrel on that ball. He's very quick on an inside pitch. Watch him react to this. Gets his hands in there. That shows me if I'm coming in on La Stella from now on, I've got to make sure I come way in, because he's quick on that.
So 2 away for the catcher, Miguel Montero. 6 hits, 21 at bats, a home run, 6 batted in, has 3 doubles. Montero did not start in the opener with John Lester on the mound. That was David Ross's game. Montero scored 3 times, walked twice, single, drove in a run last night in that Chicago 9-2 win. They lead 1-0 on the Bryant home run here in the second inning. 2-1 to Montero.
I'll tell you, you look up and down this lineup, and tonight, other than the pitcher Jason Hamill, the Cubs have only 2 right-handed hitters in the lineup. They got a couple of switch hitters, but 2 natural righties. Bryant and Russell. That can work hard when you're a right-handed pitcher. Because if you come in here and your first best 2 pitches are, say, fastball, slider, you face a lineup of left-handers like this, you got nothing to make them respect the outer part of the plate. That's why you've got to get that off-speed pitch working pretty good, and you got to get it working early against these guys. The off-speed pitch changeup, that is.
There it was right there. Misses down and away. 3-2 the count on Montero. Reds play Montero as a dead pull hitter in the infield, and a payoff pitch. And that's strike 3 to retire the side, and Montero knew it. First strikeout by Iglesias. The home run by Bryant gives Chicago a 1-0 lead at the end of 2. Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service, delivering everything you've come to expect and more. Blackout and other restrictions may apply, but visit MLB.tv for more details. Chris Bryant did not homer through the first week of the season. Hit one out in his 3rd at bat here last night, and clubs another in his 1st at bat here tonight. And that's the game's only run as we begin the 3rd. Iglesias, Hamilton, Suarez against Jason Hamill. Bicel hitless in 4 at-bats so far this season. Number of games played earlier today, including the Cardinals behind Jaime Garcia. A 7-0 drubbing of the Milwaukee Brewers. 1 out. A reminder, as always, coming up later tonight, we'll have our Miller Time moment. That's presented by Miller Lite. I'd like to have a Reds Miller Time moment tonight. Wouldn't that be good?
Well, what are you waiting for?
Time to go. Try to get out of here with 1 win and feel good about yourself at 6 up and 3 down going into St. Louis starting tomorrow night. Hamilton walked and was picked off by Hamill in the first inning.
A rare pitch outside the strike zone of the first offering by Hamill. He had been 7 of 9 until that pitch missed by him against Billy Hamilton. He's a lot like John Lackey in that respect. I mean, there's just not a lot of, there must be a lot of deception there, but they're not out there trying to trick you. They don't have overpowering stuff or an unhittable slider or curveball. They throw enough inside to keep you off the outer part of the plate, then they attack the outer part of the strike zone.
Jam Billy there. Zobus gets rid of him quickly. Back-to-back ground balls to the Cubs second baseman. 2 outs, and here comes Suarez. Well, the other thing we learned about Joe Maddon as a National League manager last year, you know, they had Lester and they had Arrieta. And he would let those guys pitch deep into games, and why wouldn't you, especially the kind of role that Arrieta was on through August and September. But we also learned that if that wasn't your last name, if Sparky Anderson wasn't given the nickname Captain Hook, well, Maddon would have been the next guy in line. Because Hamill last year made 4 starts against the Reds and did not go longer than 5 innings in any of the starts. And it wasn't like he was getting knocked around. So guys like Hamill and anybody else for that matter in the Cub rotation, he doesn't leave them in there all that long. We'll see if this year's different. He's through 3. He's given up 2 hits and no runs and leads 1-0.
First hit as a Red as he mans third base, and he's like many Reds this week in our 4 days that have made their way over to Willis Tower, which used to be Sears Tower here in Chicago, and they have a sky deck there that you can see right through. And if you're squeamish at all about heights, this is not the place for you. But obviously, as Pacheco tweeted out a picture, he is not squeamish at all. He tweeted out the caption, "Taking a nap 1,353 feet up." That is looking straight down on that sky deck. Quite the picture.
Boy, that sure is. That is terrifying just to look at that picture.
Of course, they've got 2 skyscrapers here in Chicago that you can go up to the very top. One being right next to the hotel where the Reds stay, and that's the John Hancock Center.
Now, you were up there.
Well, and they have a window there called the tilt. And it's all made of glass. The bottom of it is, and the side, and you can lean against that thing, and it actually tilts out over the side of the building. Ooh. I watched a lot of people do that.
You didn't do it.
Did not.
What about your daughter?
She did it. She's the brave one in the family.
Wow. Well, you know, there's two ways of looking at that, and I would never say anything derogatory about your daughter because she is a very bright young lady. I had a chance to be around her a number of times. But, you know, brave and some other words.
I think she.
There's a ground ball to short. And what I'm getting at is, you know, I don't know if my wife or anybody I know would call me brave when I went on a bungee cord dive off about a 350-foot cliff. I don't know if that's brave or whether that's just simply idiotic. I don't know.
Well, she considers herself more fearless than brave.
She is.
And we had a great time. Chicago's a great place to visit for family.
Well, you guys do a little bit of everything. Phillips knocks it down. He's not going to be able to make the play, and Hamill reaches safely. Don't know if Brandon maybe forgot about who was running there. Don't know if he would have had a shot. What do you think?
I think the ball may have bounced away from him too far, realizing that once it got away from him like that, you know, no matter who's running, I don't think you're going to have a chance to get him. Boy, that's a rarity right there. There are a whole lot fewer of those plays by Brandon Phillips than those superlative, unbelievable fielding plays that we've seen so many times.
That'll be an error on Phillips, and this one bunted. No chance. Iglesias took the chance, but Fowler legs it out. And now all of a sudden, after an error and a bunt hit, the Cubs have 2 on, and the big fella's coming up.
Boy, is that a smart play by Fowler. You know, the more I watch Dexter Fowler play, and we always liked him a little bit when he was in Colorado, but the more I see him play on this team here, the more he just fits in and really brings an added dimension to this Cubs ball club. That is a perfect bunt. He didn't show it until very late. He let the ball come to him and didn't try to do anything extra with it, like lunge at it. Just a solid play. All right, now if you're Raisel Iglesias, though, you're thinking, I'm one ground ball away from getting out of this inning. Make a good pitch.
And Hayward hit a ground ball to the shortstop his first time up, and they try to play a little hit and run. And there's a bouncing ball. And they'll get the out at second, and unable to double up the speedy Hayward. Good try there.
Well, Brandon Phillips out there saying, hey, what about the new rule that is in effect? Did he go after the shortstop here? Was it a legitimate slide, or was it a violation of the rule the way Major League Baseball has redefined it? Did he go out of the way? You know, once you start on a course to second base, you can't change the course to go after the runner. Now, Brandon's saying he changed his course, and maybe the Reds are taking a look at it too. But I think the Fowler had to kind of dip in towards the infield to get out of the way of Brandon Phillips fielding the baseball, and then he had to change his course just to get back to second base. I don't think there's going to be a review. Or even a question by the Reds dugout.
All right, so now one more out to go for Iglesias to pitch around the error by Brandon here in this inning. Runners on the corners. Cubs already lead 1-0. Zobrist flied out to Jay Bruce and right his first time up. It turned into a double play. And Fowler drifted too far off the second base bag, and Bruce's throw beat him there. Hamill, the runner at third, who reached on the error. And Hayward on over at first base. count coming to the Chicago second baseman Ben Zobrist. 2-0. Pitch is ball 4, and they're loaded. First walk of the game given up by Iglesias, although of the first 12 Cub hitters that have come to the plate, 6 of them have worked to a 3-ball count against Iglesias. So they're loaded for Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo, a pop fly Adam Duvall's way in left field, his only turn tonight. Cubs 1, Reds nothing. Last of the third, 2 outs, and the Cubs have the bases loaded. Iglesias finally okays a sign with Tucker Barnhart, and the 1-0 pitch is in there, a strike. Out away, and Iglesias now in front of Rizzo at 1-2, a strike away and out away from getting out of this bases loaded jam in the third. And Iglesias takes care of business by disposing Rizzo after falling behind ball 1 on 3 straight pitches thereafter. 2 strikeouts for Rysel. 1-0 Cubs in front. Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals in America. And a special hello to all those over at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. We certainly hope and pray you've had a better day today than yesterday and a better one tomorrow. Right along the shores of Lake Michigan, the city of broad shoulders, among other nicknames, a windy city, Chicago. Reds will come here, of course, 3 times over the course of this season. And the Cubs will do the same into Cincinnati. When we come back here, when?
4th of July.
Wow. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Rare the Reds are going to play 3 straight day games. They have become the favored choice to play night baseball here in Chicago over the last 3 seasons. The Reds will play 3 straight night games when they come back the 3rd time in September. Votto looks at a strike. Joey singled by the 3rd baseman La Stella, his first time up.
I'm not really have any idea how to explain this, but Jason Hamill is the toughest right-hander on Votto of anybody in baseball. That is among pitchers that have faced Votto at least 20 times.
Okay.
I mean, he's 5th on the list overall. The first 4 are left-handers: Jonathan Neese, Paul Maholland, Burzolani, Cole Hamels. And then right after Jason Hamill is Adam Wainwright. And then another left-hander in Francisco Liriano. But it's kind of funny because you look at Hamill, you're thinking, well, he doesn't seem like the kind of pitcher that would really give Votto a hard time. But he goes right after Joey Votto. He gets Votto behind in the count. And here he is, another full count right here. Votto protecting himself, trying to keep the at-bat alive.
There you see the numbers, 5 of 24. And Votto draws a walk. So perhaps he's starting to make a dent in some of those numbers. Tonight, a single and now a walk. Second walk of the game issued by Hamill. He walked the very first batter of the night, Billy Hamilton, but picked him off. Now Brandon. He popped up to Fowler in center field, ending the first inning. I mean, really watching tonight's game puts into perspective what happened in last night's game.
The walk-a-thon.
We had just finished by this time last night the first inning, and here we are in the 4th. That one just popped up to La Stella. But Brandon has always been a very aggressive hitter, but it seems like almost every at bat he is up there first pitch swinging early this season.
And I can tell you that Brian Price was still griping about last night and about the Reds and their inability to throw the ball over the plate. You know, remarking that, you know, you get out hit by 1, but you're outscored by 7. And he just can't believe that. And he didn't think that was going to repeat itself tonight, obviously, with Iglesias on the mound. But that's a tough taste to get rid of.
Chris brought it up earlier, but it certainly, you know, bears repeating on the heels of a couple of games where Reds pitchers have walked a lot of batters. Cubs pitchers are averaging barely over 1.5 walks per 9 innings. They've issued the fewest number of walks in the majors while drawing the most walks in the majors. Fouled out a play by Jay Bruce. That's a good combination. Traditionally, last couple of years anyway, they've also been a team that strikes out a ton of batters, their pitching staff, and they have led the major leagues in striking out themselves. You look at the Cubs pitching last year. They had the 3rd best ERA in all of Major League Baseball at 3.36. Their bullpen had the 4th best ERA in Major League Baseball. And man, you talk about tough to hit. So think about never walking anybody, right? And then you combine that with batting average against. Their pitchers were #1 in Major League Baseball last year. Collectively, teams batted .233 against his Cubs staff.
And they feel like they've got a stronger pitching staff this year than they did last year. That's a tough thing to repeat, though.
Two on Jay Bruce. Taking ball off the inside corner, a full count.
I'll tell you, Bruce, he just looks more comfortable with 2 strikes. I think he's been able to slow the clock down, his internal clock, a little bit this year. I think he's also found a couple of keys in his setup that makes him feel more comfortable too.
Runner takes off and it's ball 4. So 2 walks in this inning, 3 in the game by Hamilton. Here we are talking about not walking anybody. And he's walked 2 of the first 3 hitters in this inning. For Reds fans, if you can't watch the Reds games on television, why not stream the Reds games live on your mobile device wherever you go? Go to the App Store, download the free Fox Sports Go app tonight. You've already been using that, right?
I have been, yeah. Right from the very get-go on opening day.
Here's Duvall. Reds are down 1-0. And Hamill starts him high and tight, and Montero going to come visit his right-hander on the mound. And now the entire Cubs infield will gather as their pitching coach Chris Bosio. He looks to be moving so much better this year than he did last year.
I'll tell you, I did not see the clock. Well, they have the clock here. I mean, last year, we're down to 6 seconds already. But I mean, last year, at his normal pace, he would have just enough time to say, "Hey, how you doing?" and then turn around and go back, because it would take him a good 15 seconds just to get on and off the field each way. And this is a sprint this year compared to last year. Good guy too, and a good pitching coach.
Was a good pitcher when he was healthy enough to pitch in the big leagues. Oft injured. Ground ball left side. They get one. They will not make an attempt to double up Duvall, who runs pretty well. So the Reds now looking for a 2-out hit from Pacheco, who doubled his first time up, if they want to tie this baby up here in the 4th inning. Pacheco doubled just beyond the reach of the third baseman La Stella up the third base line in the 2nd inning. That was just the 4th extra base hit in this 3-game series so far for the Reds against Cubs pitching. One and one on Jordan Pacheco. I think that same guy who was yelling from just below the broadcast booth at Jim Day during Reds Live tonight is down there yelling at somebody right now. Chase that high fastball. Reds looking for their first hit tonight with a man on base. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yano the runner at third. Duvall on at first. Ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs. A count on Jordan Pacheco. Hamels allowed 2 base hits, walked 3, fan 2. In the air to center field, and this ought to wrap things up in the 4th. The Reds will strand a pair. They've left 4 on in the game. 1-0 Chicago after 3.5.
Big inning is key for any pitcher, and in the 3rd, Iglesias did just that. Fielder's choice on Hayward, and then with the bases loaded, got Anthony Rizzo to strike out. Brian Price loves how this kid is fearless.
First came up, I think he was the issue was either the 1st inning or later in the game. He was susceptible to the big inning. I think he's more confident in his stuff. I think he's more confident that he can compete at this level. I think that his ability to go out and pitch his game, you know, and his ability to communicate with the catcher, the ability to communicate with his coaching staff has improved greatly.
And guys, just the familiarity with everything, adjusting to American culture, seeing these hitters the second time around, the teams, the stadium, it's just all coming together for him.
Well, it sure is, and you know, it's hard to believe that it was this time a year ago. Now, you may remember Iglesias started the year in the Reds rotation. He pitched in that first weekend series against the St. Louis Cardinals, but it wasn't very long before he was sent back to the minor leagues. There was a fly ball to short left and a fall in for a hit by Bryant, who's already accounted for the only run of this game with a home run in the 2nd inning. But then once Iglesias got back to the big leagues is when he went on that incredible run. And especially for a guy who's really just trying to get his feet on the ground after defecting from Cuba, basically not pitching for 2 full years. He had a string of 7 consecutive quality starts with an earned run average at 2.31. And as we recall, he became the first Reds pitcher in 100 years to strike out 10 or more batters in 3 consecutive starts. He only threw a total of 95 innings last year. And the one thing you certainly have to wonder about, kind of where the Reds are, and Brian Price nor Mark Riggins have gotten much into this, is how many innings you're going to allow Iglesias to pitch this year. Because as we mentioned, he basically went 2 full years without pitching much at all.
I wouldn't think that there's a restraint on him at all from an inning standpoint.
swinging a foul ball out of
I
play.
think what happens sometimes is a ball club gets forced into a situation where they put an innings limit on a pitcher when they really don't want to, but they see that the general public out there and the perception outside is, well, what if this guy comes down with an arm injury? We can blame the ball club directly for doing that. So sometimes they're being overly cautious. Even if a guy shows no problems at all, they say we're going to shut you down. I mean, we were going over some statistics of some older pitchers, some Cub pitchers.
Fergie Jenkins,
who, you know, you're reading him year after year where he was throwing more than 300 innings a year. And now we're shutting guys down at 170. Well, I know times have changed, but I mean, they were human beings 20 years ago, weren't they?
well, they certainly were human beings 20 years ago. I'm sure that there would be someone out there, and it's not necessarily me, but someone would say, well, yeah, they were human beings, but if you're doing a cost analysis of the whole thing, you know, they were making $200,000, if that. Ferguson Jenkins wasn't making that until very late in his career. You know, now you're talking about, you know, potentially paying guys millions of dollars, and then having to have a guy miss an entire season if you buy into that theory that you're hurting. I've never bought into it. You've never bought into it. But there are those out there that will tell you that the chances are greater of injury if a guy goes from pitching, I don't know, 50 innings to 150 innings, right? At least that argument is out there that somebody's making as it's grounded foul.
And a lot of people have bought into that argument. There may be some validity there. But I'm not really sure where the pitch count comes in at exactly 100 pitches or 110 pitches or 140 pitches. One thing about Iglesias, though, is that remember he got a late start in spring training. So he's already taken off some of those meaningless spring training pitches that so many pitchers go through that you may be able to add down to the end of the year.
And the other part about it is, and you know, look, how you can quantify the importance of this, but one thing that you'll hear baseball people talk a lot about is the number of stressful innings you're pitching in a game, which, you know, one game you might get to 100 pitches and you got to get a guy out of there right now because, you know, in the third, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh, he has had 2 on, 3 on, whatever the case may be.
Now, do you mean stressful on the pitcher or stressful on the manager?
Everybody involved. And then there are stressful innings over the course of a season. That one's in the air to left field. I don't think that Iglesias, outside of the pressure of pitching in a major league game and pitching to the best hitters in the world, I don't think that he's faced a batter tonight, except for the bases loaded jam in the third inning, that you would consider a stressful inning so far tonight. Would you agree?
No. But the guy doesn't want to be scored upon. So, you know, I can't really tell you what's going on inside of him, except that he appears to be like a really tough competitor. Even in spring training, we had a spring training game where I think that the other team led off with it was the Indians, and I think they led off with a double or something.
Right.
And I mean, he battled his behind off just to get out of there with no runs at all. Where a lot of pitchers would say, well, I'm working on my stuff, and so what, they got a couple of runs. He doesn't want to be scored upon. So I think he had a stressful inning his last inning. You know,
that's what I was saying. Outside of
Rizzo.
that last inning, I agree. But the first 2 innings, he gave him a solo home run. Okay, fine.
Agreed.
You know, here in this inning, he allowed a leadoff single. He has 1 out under his belt. And now he faces Montero with a 1-0 count. 65th pitch of the ninth for Iglesias. Runner goes, and he's going to be out by 100 feet.
What a play by Barnhart. I mean, he looked like he had to pick that ball right out of the dirt. I'm not sure how he threw that ball around Montero. Montero did him a favor, actually, by leaning over right there. There is no rule that when that catcher slides into the batter's box area that you have to get out of the way. So thank you to, I guess that's catcher courtesy right there. not so sure Chris Bryant like that, but that's a good play by Tucker.
On Montero. He looked at strike 3 his first time up and did not argue about it. 2 Cubs have been erased on the base paths tonight. The double play to end the first inning. And Fowler was thrown out on the fly ball to right by Jay Bruce. And now thrown out at second is Bryant for the second out here in this inning. 3-2 the count on Montero. So Iglesias gathers his thoughts. A 3 balls, 2 strikes count, trying to put an end to this 4th inning. Keep it a 1-0 lead on the Chris Bryant home run in the 2nd inning. We'll do it again at 3-2. Montero in his 2nd season with Chicago after spending his entire career with the Arizona Diamondbacks, originally signed by the D-backs out of Venezuela. 3-2 and a bouncer to Phillips. Inning over. Leadoff single, no damage. We go to the 5th. Reds on the short end of a 1-0 game.
Tonight, Vincent Velasquez in the IGS bringing the energy against the Padres today. A complete game 3 hitter. 16 strikeouts, did not walk a batter. This right-hander became the 7th player in Major League history to throw a shutout with only 16 Ks and no walks. Congratulations to Vincent Velasquez. Padres' first team in history to be shut out 5 times in their first 10 games of the season. That is our IGS bringing the energy.
Not a bad outing either for Jaime Garcia against the Milwaukee Brewers, punching out 13, walking 1 in a complete game, 1-hit shutout.
Well, the extra good news is that the Reds will not see Jaime Garcia as they travel to St. Louis this weekend. If they see him, they'll be running laps.
Of course, they do see Martinez, Wainwright, and Walker. Wainwright off to a very slow start this year. All right, Reds down 1-0. Tucker Barnhart to be followed by Raisel Iglesias and then Billy Hamilton against Hamill. And there's a base hit into center field by Barnhart. Boy, what a start he's off to with the bat. He had a rocket right at Zobrist, who caught that line drive in the second inning, and now Tucker is 5 for his first 11.
A good solid swing right there for Tucker. Now Iglesias getting a talking to down there by Billy Hatcher. You got to figure that Hatch must have picked up a little Spanish along the way.
For bunt. This is a forced play out at second base, and Iglesias able to leg it out. He bunted it very hard right at the aggressively charging Chicago first baseman.
Well, that may have been what Hatcher was talking to him about, is that if you see the fielders charging you hard enough, go ahead and swing away. I'll tell you one thing about Rysel. He might be top 3 on this ball club, top 5 anyway, as far as speed. Billy Hamilton obviously far and away the fastest, but I'm trying to think of who would be faster than Iglesias. He got down the line like right now.
He sure did. So he shows bunt, takes a little half swing at it, that Butcher Boy play, and it's a force out. And here's Hamilton. Billy walked, was picked off first in the first inning, and then grounded out to Zobrist in the third. Two and 0. Low and away, 3 balls and no strikes to Hamilton. Billy taking all the way 3-0, and now 3 balls and a strike. After falling behind 3-0, back-to-back strikes to Hamilton. Freddie Benavides whispering into the right ear of Rysel Iglesias. Very short lead for him over there. 3-2 on Hamilton. And it's ball 4. That's 4 walks now in the game tonight for Hamilton. And by far, that would be the highest number of walks by any Cubs starter in a game so far this season. And we're talking about a team, as we brought up earlier, averaging collectively, starters and relievers, not even 2 walks per 9 innings.
Well, you're asking the question as to why Jason Hamill did not pitch deeper into ball games against the Reds last year. The walks were not the problem, but they may be the problem tonight. No action in the Cubs bullpen. Suarez got a chance to do some damage here.
He was first pitch swinging at a fastball and right back to the screen. Suarez has popped up to Zobrist and is struck out swinging.
In that first at bat where he popped up, he did jump on a first pitch fastball. That was after Billy Hamilton led off the game with a bunt. Then he got behind his next at bat, 0-2. Swung on a pitch down and in.
Suarez 9 runs batted in. And there's a high fly ball into left field. It'll be playable for Bryant, short of the track. And the runners stay put. 2 are out. Votto coming up.
Didn't miss it by much.
So now Votto with a chance to pick up a game-tying hit. He has 3 runs batted in so far this season and off to a good start tonight. A single into left field has also drawn a walk. Iglesias and Hamilton avoid. Ball 1 up and away. Another big crowd tonight here at Wrigley Field. Certainly warmer than the last couple of nights. And there's a line drive to the first baseman. It'll end the inning. A hit to left. Bottom of the 5th coming up. And the Reds still down 1-0.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, we invite you to get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before the start of every game. Everything you need to know. Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And tomorrow night, again at 7:30, we'll be on the air with Reds Live. Getting set for the first of 3. The Reds taking on the defending National League Central Division champion Cardinals. Winners of 100 games last year, but defeated handily by the Cubs in the National League Division Series. Going to see Mike Leake over the weekend, are we not? No, we're not.
No, I don't
it's
think
not a 4-gamer, 3-gamer. You know, many have wondered where that sort of Cardinal thump is going to come from in that lineup, you know, this year. Matt Holliday getting a little bit older, but man, I tell you, he can still hit.
Yes, he can.
Hoping Matt Adams can return to the Matt Adams of a couple of years ago, not the one that was hurt and or unproductive last year.
They still have solid pitching.
Sure.
And they have good defense. And their pitching, including their bullpen, is very good. And we haven't seen them because, of course, they train in Florida and the Reds train in Arizona.
Line drive and a base hit into center field by Addison Russell. Russell only 5 hits in his first 28 at-bats, 29 at-bats this year. But of course, he had the big home run here on Monday night.
Look at him go down to get that pitch. I mean, that was right either below the strike zone or right at the bottom of the strike zone. He really kept his head on that pitch. Pretty good number 8 hole hitter, I got to tell you. Because he's got some pop, hit a home run the other night.
Very young, very athletic. What is he, 8th youngest player in all of Major League Baseball? We're talking about the Cardinals so far this year, Chris. In their 5 wins, they scored 48 runs. In their 4 losses, they scored a total of 11 runs. So it's been pretty much feast or famine so far for the St. Louis Cardinals. They score 7 in their win today against the Brewers. That ball is stumped and will sail over the head of Bruce up against the wall. This will drive in a run. That's a pitcher, Hamill, with a run-scoring double to make it 2-0.
Well, saw Raisel Iglesias try a little butcher boy play. Jason Hamill says, this is the way you do it. The infield coming in, he was not even going to fake bunt. He just go ahead and let it loose, and that ball was walloped over the head of the right fielder.
Of course, the Cubs had John Lackey pick up an RBI as a starting pitcher in the game last night, and now they get one from Hamill here in the 5th to make it a 2-run lead.
That one hurts. I mean, as a pitcher or even a player now, you're asking if he had just gotten that bunt down on the pitch before, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. Lineup turned over, man on second base, and 4 left-handers due up.
One and one on Dexter Fowler. It was a perfect 2 out of 2. A single into right field in the 1st inning. The bunt single in the 3rd. Breaking ball low and in. 80th pitch of the night coming up for Raisel Iglesias.
That Dexter Fowler did last year when he joined the Cubs after spending the 2014 season with the Houston Astros, that his walks jumped big time. And I don't know whether it was a product of being around other players that were doing the same thing. I know they like to walk, obviously, in Houston. I mean, he really was able to work a lot of pitchers last year, doing the same thing this year.
2-2 delivery. Fouled back out of play. Fowler has reached base safely already this season, including the 2 times tonight. 21 times in 36 plate appearances. I mean, that's impossible to keep that kind of pace up. That's just a staggering number. Pulled foul again and wasting another good pitch in on his hands. 2-2 pitch once more. Runner at second. Just off the inside corner.
Hoping to get a little more comeback action than it actually did.
This is incredible what Fowler is doing. He has now been on base 22 times in his first 37 plate appearances. Second walk of the game given up by Iglesias.
Well, he came into the game with an on-base percentage of close to .560. And the other part of that is that he's always been right around 4 pitches per plate appearance. And when you get into that 4 and a little bit over 4 pitches, I mean, you're a guy that's very comfortable hitting with 2 strikes. And he fouled off a couple off Iglesias, really made him work hard on that at bat. And we're finally getting a little rustling in the Reds bullpen. Wood.
It is. Well, nobody out. The inning started with a single by Russell. He scored all the way from first on a double over the head of Jay Bruce off the bat of the pitcher Jason Hammel. An 8-pitch at bat, which ends in a walk to Fowler. And now it's Hayward with 1 in, 2 on, none out. Fouled away, strike 1.
Well, Iglesias tonight has had 2 3-batter innings, but he's not had a true 1-2-3 inning. Twice the Reds have helped him in defense by having a runner thrown out on the base paths.
Pull to the right side. They'll have to hurry. Yep. Phillips decides not to go to second base. I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
Looks like he just couldn't get the ball out of his glove. I mean, Fowler can really run. He got a good lead, and you can see where he is right there. And Brandon probably just reached for it and said, you know what? Let's make we get the sure one here. Maybe he just couldn't get a grip on it. We normally see him be very aggressive in that play. Try as best as you can to get that lead runner.
So second and third, first out of the inning, and the Reds are going to bring their infield in. That swung and fouled over the screen, out of play off the bat of Zobrist. Bendonitis flied out to right, which turned into a double play in the opening inning, and then drew a walk back into third. 2 runs, 6 hits for Chicago. Reds have been shut out on 3 hits. The teams are a combined 0 for 9 thus far, with runners in scoring position. This will bring in a run. Hamilton will track it. Tagging and scoring the pitcher Hamel. On to third goes Fowler. RBI by Zobrist, his 4th. And it's 3-0 Cubs. So 1 more out to go for Raisel Iglesias, and here comes Rizzo, who's 0 for 2. He's popped to left and struck out. In there, a strike. foul, and Iglesias jumps in front of Rizzo at 0-2. Well, that was a rocket into the stands, and when you heard that eruption, that fan right there made quite a play. That ball was tagged by Rizzo. Thankfully, everybody's all right. Still 0-2. Seven foul balls by Cub hitters in this half inning alone. 2 in a row by Rizzo. And Iglesias his 92nd pitch of the game, and we are just in the 5th inning. Well, the Cubs are going to do that to teams a lot this year. They did it last year, and they're even better equipped to do it more frequently this year.
All right, so you got to ask yourself the question. I mean, is that a learned skill, or is that something that comes along with the DNA of a baseball player? I mean, Rizzo, for a big guy, and he's a slugger, it is remarkable what he's able to do as far as fighting off. I mean, he fights them off. It's like they've got a whole lineup of Joey Vottos.
Right into the shift. That's a shortstop, Suarez.
Good job by Iglesias, really.
He gives up 2, allows a couple of hits, and a man left. 3-0 Chicago into 5. Legs, April the 21st through the 24th. These Cubs are coming to Great American Ballpark Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got a weekend of fireworks and giveaways and so much more. And you can get a ticket as low as $12. Just call 381-REDS or visit Reds.com tonight. Get on board for the Redlegs and the Cubbies. That'll be a night game Thursday night, night game Friday night, night game Saturday night. 1:10 start on Sunday afternoon. Get a look at some of the folks hanging out there in the bleachers, and there are still 1 or 2 of those rooftops in right and right center that still have a pretty good view. There have been 3 or 4 of those buildings down the right field line where what once was a thriving business is completely shut down.
Well, you could always say that they were a thriving business using someone else's product.
And that's the argument the Cubs made. And one of the reasons they put up that scoreboard. They have a big one in left field. Now that's still one of the rooftops directly down the line. But if I'm not mistaken, The Cubs own a couple of those buildings down the left field line. Those are the ones that are unobstructed. Not sure exactly which ones they are, but I recall reading that story where they have bought more than a couple of these properties in and around Wrigley Field.
Well, they probably won't look like that in another decade.
Tough night for Brandon Phillips. 1 out in the inning. I'm not sure what Brandon was looking back over his shoulder at. He did not look very pleased. I don't know if it was somebody or it's something that may or I guess may not have happened. Jay Bruce showing bunt. And a strike 1.
3-run ball game. The Reds need base runners.
Safe to say the night is over for Raisel Iglesias because the Reds continue to have action in their bullpen. Batting 1 deep here into the 6th inning. We'll see. On Jay Bruce. And now the count even. Hamill has walked 4 batters. 3 of them came over the 4th and 5th innings. Walks to 2 of the first 3 hitters in that 4th, but he got Duvall and Pacheco to get out of trouble. That one is hit hard down a left field line by Bruce, and it's into the corner. This will be a 2-base hit for Jay Bruce.
Tell you what, this is the new Jay Bruce coming up there swinging the bat like that. Again with 2 strikes. Last time with 2 strikes, he fouled a couple of pitches off before he ended up working a walk. This time he just takes it the other way. And there was a time when Jay Bruce couldn't do that even if he tried to do that. Hamill did a little bit of a helping job by getting the ball up in the zone for him, but Bruce puts a good swing on it. He's a different looking hitter.
I know that you and George Grand on the broadcast tomorrow night are going to talk about that a lot more in depth about the new Jay Bruce from St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, we're going to do that in the Oakland, so make sure you tune in before the first pitch. Of course, you want to tune in for Reds Live anyway. But
that's right.
I talked to Jay about it, talked to Don Long about it. We're going to show you with the telestrator what Jay Bruce is doing to change things around. It's the 6th time this year that Jay Bruce has had a hit with 2 strikes. That puts him among the league leaders, I can guarantee you that.
1-1 on Adam Duvall. See if the Reds can find a way to do a little damage here, make some noise offensively. Be great to hear George Grand back with us tomorrow night on Fox Sports Ohio.
Oh, he's probably already in St. Louis.
Oh, you can take that to the bank. He might be having dinner tonight with Red Shane Dingster. Who knows? Cardinals played at home today, so it could be just about anybody in that Cardinal organization because he certainly has so many friends all over baseball.
Of course, he used to broadcast for the Cardinals.
That's right.
Way back before he came over to broadcast with us in Reds baseball.
They had to run that old spot that you used to do with Bronson Arroyo. whenever you and George get back together. We're together again. Remember when you did that commercial?
You better believe it. I love doing that with Bronson.
The ball's in the air to left center field. Should be the second out of the inning, and it is. Now see, you know, they have some of the great marketing firms in America right here in Chicago. And there are great marketing firms all over the country.
Including Cincinnati.
Of course, including Cincinnati. And you know, but I got to tell you, there are a lot of people that still remember that commercial and that song. As hokey and at times as some of those commercials were, and you'd be the first to admit it, I got to tell you, I can't remember the company, but I can tell you this right now. It was very effective advertising. I am stunned it's not continued.
Well, I mean, Bronson got a great kick out of it because he seriously sang the song
That's exactly
as best
right.
as he possibly could, and it was a song about a cheese hoagie, a beef and cheese hoagie.
JTM.
And it was JTM. They did a great job on that. We had a great time. It got really more run on social media before social media really became what it is today.
Well,
and I was to cry, and that was
when they remember the song,
yeah,
you're doing something right. Don't know why that ever came to an end. Not a good move. 2 outs in the inning, 0-1 the count on Jordan Pacheco. And now 0-2.
I can tell you the royalty stream came to an end too. That wasn't a good move.
I think I figured that part out. Reds trailing 3-0. They're looking for a big hit from Pacheco, who has a double and is flied out to center field. And he's gone swinging. Throw down to first will take care of that. Hamill just his third strikeout of the night. We're in the middle of the sixth. 3-0. Chicago in front. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing heads to Bristol, Tennessee, starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Fox, or you can watch it live, as always, on Fox Sports Go. 5 innings in the books for Raisel Iglesias, and his night is over. He allows 6 hits, 3 runs earned, walked 2, struck out 2 through 93 pitches, 55 of which were for strikes. And now one of the pitchers throwing the ball quite well in his first season as a Red is Blake Wood.
Yes, he is. He's a 30-year-old right-hander with a very good fastball. Dials it up above 95 miles an hour normally. Wood coming in here to try to keep it right there.
You know, you look at this Chicago Cubs team, and you know, I'm not sure that you can make an argument that they've necessarily done a great job in drafting players and developing their own players. I think that's something that a lot of people have just sort of talked about, how young they are. And when you hear about a young team, your first thought is, oh, well, they've drafted these guys, they've developed these guys, they've brought these guys up to the big leagues. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, you look at this entire starting 8 tonight, which we have seen throughout, with the exception of third base tonight and left field. You know, the only guy in the lineup tonight that is one of their own guys is a man who's at the plate right now. And he was a #2 pick in the country. You know, it wasn't like they had the 17th pick or the 27th pick or whatever it might be. I mean, it's a second pick in the country. Right. Now, teams have missed on that pick before. But, you know, there were most people that felt like Bryant, coming out of the University of San Diego, was a can't-miss guy. And he was a Rookie of the Year last year. That one shot down to Votto, and that's out #1. But you look around, it's more the trades the Cubs made and free agents, as we talked about last night, in their pitching staff. But Fowler, free agent player, signed on a 1-year deal last year. Now they brought him back this year. Hayward, big money free agent contract. Rizzo, traded to get him from San Diego. Zobrist, free agent. Russell, traded to get him from Oakland. Montero, got him from Arizona. Pitching staff, Lester, Lackey, free agents. Arrieta, it's been lightning in a bottle. Hamill, not a journeyman guy, a so-so guy that they traded away. They bring him back. So this isn't the traditional, you know, old school sort of way of putting a team together. Soler is one of their own guys. Baez is too. But right now, if everybody's healthy, neither one of those guys are regular players.
Schwarber's one of their guys.
Schwarber, you're right. Schwarber is
he was injured and out for the year this year.
That's right. He was a starter.
Well, I see your point. And what they've done is been able to combine a lot of free agent money because they have committed a ton of money. And they traded away some veteran players in order to get young players at the time. You know, Jeff Samardzija went the other way to bring Addison Russell back. They had also sent Hamels, I think, that way. Samardzija and Jason Hamill went to Oakland
exactly
in exchange for Addison Russell. So they had spent a lot of money for a long, long time here in Chicago and had nothing to show for it.
Theo Epstein to the far left there in the open college shirt. When he took over now 5 years ago, his first season, he lost over 100 games. Told everybody we're going to gut this entire operation and start wheeling and dealing. And that he did. Nice play by Brandon Phillips, a pirouette for the second out of the inning. But, you know, we've talked about this so many times, and of course we'll see how the Reds trades turn out over the long haul. But when you go back to the Florida Marlins second go-round, they won the whole thing in '98, gutted the entire team. But while they were trading away all those great stars from that 1997 team, I beg your pardon, that won the World Series, it was the trades they made to acquire the guys that were their stars when they won it again in 2003. So when you're unloading those veteran players, those trades and what you're getting back, many will tell you, you just can't miss on those deals. And we'll see how the trades, of course, turn out for the Reds moving forward, because they did a lot of that. Cueto, Leak, Chapman, Frazier.
Well, the Cubs payroll this year, and it's just going to continue to go up.
Sure.
Is almost twice that of what the Reds is this year. So, a team like the Cubs with a lot of revenue can afford to miss on a pick or two.
Sure.
Or a free agent or two. When your team has a smaller revenue come in, those picks get deliberated more. You wring your hands more. You're wondering, should we sign this guy or not? Because if we make a mistake here, we're stuck with him. I mean, the Yankees for years and years were the best example ever.
But you know, you look at this Cub team, and despite the fact that they have a high payroll, that has made a huge jump just this year.
Went from 120 to 176.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge jump.
$50 million this year.
And that's 3 players. That's on Hayward, that's on Lackey, and that's on Zobrist. The rest of their guys right now are very much, you know, under control. Bryant's not making any money to speak of. Fowler is doing well, but he's not a big ticket guy. Russell barely above the minimum. Rizzo making good money but hadn't gone to free agency yet. Montero's made a good living. But Schwarber was making, you know, second-year player money. Soler, same thing.
Well, John Lester is making big money.
Well, I was going to say the last 2 years is where they've really added money.
Really make money, you know, continue to make higher money down the road.
Sure.
You know, Hayward is the highest. John Lackey's a big payroll. Montero's a guy that they're paying $14 million for this year.
But he's off the books at the end of the year.
I think they got him for next year too.
Oh, okay.
Free agent in 2018.
Okay. So he'll be around.
Oh, that's good hitting.
2-out single to left field by Montero.
2 out, 2 strike. 3-2 count, just took it the other way.
He has seen 21 pitches tonight and 3 at-bats. And I know some people that are, you know, watching the game tonight and maybe follow the Cubs, and they're saying, wait a minute now, you just can't dispel Baez, Soler, you know, when you're talking about this Cub team as, you know, bringing up their own guys. The point I'm making is, of the players that are starting players, Baez and Soler would not be in the starting lineup if they were healthy or somebody else was healthy. Schwarber's healthy, Soler's not playing. Baez is hurt, but when he comes back, will not be a regular player. He's not going to replace Bryant at third, not going to replace Russell at short, and not going to replace Zobrist at second. Now down the line, it could well be that both of those guys will be regular players for the Cubs. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Addison Russell.
Well, everybody in Major League Baseball who runs an organization is looking for sustainability. I mean, how do you get to the top and stay there? And that's the one elusive thing that ball clubs have found, that you just can't throw enough money to keep that going. You have to have a good farm system. You have to have something special for a long, long time to be able to do that. So the Cubs are reaching their peak right now. You don't know where they're going to be 3 years from now when they have to start paying guys like Bryant, etc. Anthony Rizzo.
Well, you're right.
But right now, they got a really good-looking team.
They sure do. And you know, the other part about it, Chris, let's face it, the Reds did it that way to build a team that went to the postseason 3 out of 4 years. I mean, you go right around the infield, almost everybody on the Reds club is a homegrown player. You know, that team that played in 2012 and again in 13. And especially the pitching staff. There's a base hitting to left field. So back-to-back 2-out singles. But you know, at the end of the day, and the same thing is going to be said about this Cub team, as Caesar is going to bat for Jason Hamill. Hamill goes 6 innings tonight and shuts out the Reds on 4 hits. He walked 4, struck out 3. At the end of the day, you can build the best powerhouse team in the regular season year after year after year. Ultimately, the greatness of a team is defined by what it does in the postseason. And the Reds had 3 shots at it, with all homegrown players doing it the right way, before all of a sudden all those guys collectively fell into the category of being big money players or big money pitchers, and they couldn't deliver the goods. The Kansas City Royals, the same thing the Reds did when they got their one shot. They got to the World Series, got beaten 7. The next year they win the World Series. And we'll see what this Cub team does. They got to the LCS last year. First time they've been in the postseason in 7 years. They were obliterated in the LCS. I mean, embarrassed by the New York Mets. Swing and a miss. I mean,
and the reason why, even with all the thump that the Cubs had last year, they ran into a pitching staff that was simply clicking on every cylinder they had and coming in here throwing 98 miles an hour.
Every one of them. I mean, look at those great, the great talent on those Cleveland Indians teams during the 1990s. Holy Moses. Could never win the World Series. 1-1 pitch.
It kind of goes to show you that what gets you there to the playoffs, that is not necessarily what will get you the title. I mean, you can thump your way through the league and get yourself to 95 to 100 wins, but when it comes down to the playoffs, you better have some hot pitchers going. All you need is your ace to have a couple of off nights, and you get knocked out.
Exactly right.
It sure makes the month of September a lot of fun.
It sure does. And that's where the Cubs are hoping to be again come this September. Right now they lead 3-0. And it's 2-2 on Caesar with 2 on and 2 out.
Look at the crowd here tonight. We've been here in April before. Midweek, night game, cold, where you can count a lot of empty seats.
Not many tonight.
No.
It's in the air and should be the final out of the inning. It is. Wood escapes 2 on, 2 out trouble. We're off to the 7th. Reds have work to do. They trail just 3-0. a look at our Honda game summary in the second inning of the scoreless game for the second straight game. Chris Bryant homered to the seats in left field, 1-0. It stayed that way until the Chicago fifth after a single by Addison Russell, the pitcher stunning the world. As Hamill shoots one over the head of Bruce to make it a 2-0 game. Cubs would add another run to go ahead 3-0 in Hamill's 6 shutout innings. Changes for Chicago will start on the mound. A familiar name and a familiar face to Reds fans. Originally came up as a Cincinnati Red, left-hander Travis Wood. He's found a home the last couple of years in this Chicago bullpen.
Well, he has. He was in 54 games last year, including 9 starts. Prior to that, he was pretty much only a starter in the major leagues. Of course, many of those years with the Reds. Now 29 years old is Travis. And this year a reliever, I mean really a reliever. He's pitched in 4 ball games, and only in 1 of those games has he pitched a complete inning. And it's not because of ineffectiveness, it's because they just didn't need him. He has not given up a run yet.
Well, the Cubs have simply not had very many close games. I mean, guys are coming in just to get a little work. They bludgeoned the Angels to begin the year. 9-0, 6-1. Then they went to Arizona and scored 14 runs behind John Lackey. Their only loss was a 1-run defeat in their 4th game of the year. They had a 2-run win where they beat Zach Greinke. They scored 7, beating Shelby Miller. Tight game here, rallied late on Monday night, but then the blow up, scoring 9 runs last night. So, 2/3 of their games, roughly, if not more than that, 75% of them, have been decided by the 5th, 6th inning. That is not the case tonight. It is a tight 3-0 here in the 7th, and it's 3-2 on Barnhart. Tucker batting right-handed for the first time in the game.
And he's caught Travis Wood so much over the years. You got to figure that. Never liked throwing to a former catcher.
Strike 3 called for the first out here in the 7th inning.
Travis Wood has really taken to the relief role. He's always had a little cut fastball that he throws. He tries to feather it outside and then come back and cut that outside edge, and he got it perfectly that time. I mean, his last year of being a starter every 5 days, he had an earned run average over 5. That was in 2014. But last year, well, as a reliever, he struck out more batters than innings pitched. His earned run average was under 3. And in the playoffs, he had 12 strikeouts for every walk. So, I mean, all of a sudden, he's completely rejuvenated his career from being a mediocre starter to be an outstanding left-handed reliever.
Tyler Holt coming up to bat, 0 for 3 so far this year as a Red. So Travis Wood delivers, and there's a fly ball into straightaway center, hit pretty well, and a nice running grab by Fowler for the 2nd out of the inning. That ball carried a lot further than it looked initially coming off the bat of Holt. He stunned that ball.
Boy, Fowler covers a lot of ground, got a good jump on it. He's a big, tall guy. 6'5", I think Fowler is, and he needed all of that to reach up and grab that line drive.
Blake Wood goes an inning, allows 2 hits and no runs, so he has still not been scored upon pitching out of the Cincinnati bullpen. And here's Billy Hamilton. 0 for 1, but has walked twice. Not many scoring chances for the Reds in this one. That was a big pickoff in the first inning. Hamilton led off the game with a walk. And with one out was picked off. Naturally, the guy at the plate, when he was picked off, Votto wound up getting a base hit into left field, and rather than first and second, one out, it was a runner at first and 2 out. They had a 2-out double by Pacheco in the second. Had 2 on, 1 out in the fourth. Hamilton a fly ball, and this will end the inning. The Reds are gone in order. We're off to the bottom of the 7th. And the Cubs lead the Reds 3-0.
Thanks to John Morrell. First 25,000 get a Votomatic Super Bobblehead. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com today. I'm Jim Day. A massive renovation project here at Wrigley continues. Last year it was a giant hole outside of Wrigley down the left field line. Well, that hole has been filled in, and the Cubs clubhouse is brand spanking new, and to call it spacious and luxurious might be the understatement. When the Cubs players walked in and saw their clubhouse for the first time, it was like walking into a nightclub. Check it out, a lot of neon lights in it. It was certainly a far departure from what they're used to here at Wrigley Field. And they've got some history on the walls, etc. So some people would think it's a little over the top, but I'll tell you one thing that might be over the top. They've got a separate room. It's called the party room, and they use it just for game-winning celebrations. Joe Madden didn't want to mess up the regular clubhouse with a big celebration, so one room just to celebrate. It is quite the renovation project going on. By the way, the visiting clubhouse, still very small and not much to it.
Well, Jim, they might have a party room down there in that clubhouse, but I can assure you of one thing. If the Cubs win the ultimate series, something they have not done since 1908, there is not enough space on the lakefront here in Chicago to handle that part. There would not be any celebration in professional sports in any city of America, not even close, that would compare to a World Series title by the Chicago Cubs in this city. Swinging a foul ball back out of play by Dexter Fowler. Having been here when they played for a chance to go to the World Series in back-to-back nights in 2003. And there you see 108 years, longest active title drought in United States professional sports, any sport. being here for Game 6 and Game 7 of the 2003 National League Championship Series. There was no comparison between the trip to the NLCS that year and the trip to the National League Championship Series last year. No comparison. Because last year, the Cubs were never in the series. In 2003, they came back home. They were ahead 3 games to 2. 1 win away. And of course, we remember that fateful Game 6 in 2003. The scene in and around this ballpark, I have never witnessed anything like it for those 2 nights. Fowler gone swinging. Remember Pryor 5 outs away, leading in the 8th inning. Foul ball down the third base line. And of course, a young man would come to be known all over America, Steve Bartman, who still to this day has never come public for an interview, anything. And everybody talks about Bartman. The bottom line is, in the inning, the Cubs gave up 8 runs in the inning. They had a routine ground ball that went right through the legs of shortstop Alex Gonzalez, one of the most dependable shortstops. Not the former Red Alex Gonzalez, a different Alex Gonzalez. They lost that game and then came back with Kerry Wood in Game 7 and lost. The Marlins started their number 5 pitcher in their rotation in Game 7. Caleb Cotham taking over on the mound. And 1-2 on Jason Hayward.
Cotham is a 28-year-old right-hander that came over in the Aroldis Chapman trade. Last year he spent time between AAA and actually AA, AAA, and 12 games in New York for the Yankees. So far this year, he's not given up a run in 4 innings.
In the air to the third baseman. We've seen Cotham now twice in this series. He issued a huge walk in that game the other night. Yes, he did. In that faithful, or actually that was the inning where they only got 2 in the 7th inning. He came into a game with 2 on and 2 out and walked Dexter Fowler, which loaded the bases. At the time, the Reds were leading 3-0. It allowed Hayward to come to the plate, and he had that 2-strike, 2-run single off Tony Cingrani. Fly ball to left, and Cotham with a 1-2-3 inning. Reds have 6 outs to go. Heart of the order coming up. Down 3-0. very much, and going to their bullpen again. Travis Wood works a 1-2-3 seventh, and so here in the 8th inning, this guy's their primary right-handed setup man, has been for a number of years now, is Pedro Strop.
Well, Strop, is the guy that people forget about. When the Cubs traded Scott Feldman to the Baltimore Orioles, in return they got Jake Arrieta. Well, Strop was the other player they got from Baltimore in that deal. I guess so.
Think about that trade.
And
you get a guy who wins a Cy Young Award, and you get a guy who's your setup man.
And not only that, I mean, you go over the last 3 years, and Strop has been really the best pitcher and the most consistent pitcher in their bullpen. 28 holds last year. That was tied for 3rd in the National League.
And around here, the Cub fans really go hot and cold on Strop. Reminds me a lot of the David Weathers situation at times when he was setting up for the Reds. When you come in and give up a lead in the 8th inning, and that's going to happen to anybody from time to time. But man, the fans seem to never forget those games. 2-2 the count. Strop pitched last season in 76 games, his 3rd straight year, with an ERA that starts in the 2s. Bryant to the glove side, throws out Suarez 0 for 4 tonight. Here comes Votto. 1 of 2, a single, a walk, and a line out to first, stranding 2 in the 5th. Not sure Joey agreed with that call by the home plate umpire Brian O'Neill, reacting as though that one was a bit wide of the strike zone. Strop last year led all Cub relievers, not only in games pitched, strikeouts, opponents batting out. Opponents hit a .167 off this guy. Dribbler to the right side, 2 out.
Well, the knock on Strop over the years is that he's just doesn't throw enough strikes to be a dependable closer. But last year he ended the year on a real high note in that respect, because in the last 18 games he only walked 3 batters. So if there's a hiccup by this year's closer Hector Rondon, they've got a pretty good plan B waiting for him.
We're talking about deals the Cubs have made. You point out this, at the end of the day, this might be the best of all. I mean, when you look at the career numbers of Arrieta with Baltimore, and he comes here and wins a Cy Young last year and is among the very best in all of baseball. Strop is among the very best setup men in all of baseball. All for Scott Feldman. Their closer, Rondon, is a Rule 5 draft pick from the Cleveland Indians. Boy, now that's getting it done in the scouting department. They can talk about all the sabermetric numbers they want with Theo Epstein. And I'm sure that some of the numbers had something to do with the acquisition of those 3 players. But there's a whole lot of good baseball scouting involved in those 2 moves alone. Phillips gone swinging and Strop for the perfect 8.
Let's check out tonight's Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. You mentioned Bryce Harper earlier, boys. On one swing of the bat, he accomplished 2 milestones. His 100th career home run and also his first career grand slam. The Miller Time moment tonight, and don't look now. Former Red skipper Dusty Baker has those Nationals off to a 7-1 start.
Yeah, they're playing mighty good baseball. We forget how quickly the time has flown by since Bryce Harper first showed up in the major leagues. To already have 100, because you were going through, you and I were talking earlier as J.J. Hoover takes on the mound. Bottom of the 8th inning, and the Reds trailing 3-0. That I made the comment that I thought that moving forward, and I meant starting last year, I thought there was a chance that Bryant might out-homer on a yearly basis. That Bryce Harper over the next number of years. But it's incredible to think, and Harper hit over 40 last year, and Bryant hit, what, 26? But it's incredible to think that hitting 42 last year, Harper, and he's already at 100 home runs.
It is amazing. I mean, we've been following this kid really since he's been 16 years old. You know, as a high school player playing, what, junior college or something, right? And it's just a remarkable player. I mean, you can love him or you can hate him, but I mean, he's a gamer of an attitude. He thinks a whole lot of himself, but he holds himself to a pretty high standard competitively.
No doubt about it.
And we're going to see him atop a lot of leaderboards for a long, long time if he stays healthy. And Bryant, too. I mean, it's great to have stars like this in the game.
Tonight's Volkswagen drive of the game, his second home run in as many games for Chris Bryant.
The only mistake, really, that Raisel Iglesias made, he just hung that breaking ball right there, and all Bryant had to do was put the sweet part of the bat on it.
Well, if you're looking ahead to the Reds' 9th inning, Bruce Duval, Pacheco, and they have some options off the bench, including Shevlin. Tough to say at this point after sitting around all night whether you have the option of a Cozart or a Mesoraco to use off your bench. They are players at least that are in that Reds dugout. We'll see Hector Rondon, I'm sure, if it stays a 3-0 game, to try and come on and nail it down. Picked up his second save of the year in the series opener here Monday night.
Second walk of the night for Reds pitching. Raisel Iglesias walked Dexter Fowler in the 5th inning. That was the inning in which the Cubs scored 2 runs.
Jorge Soler comes up to bat for the pitcher. After they pinch hit Caesar in the 6th inning, he stayed in the game with Bryant moving into third base. So the pitcher spot is this 6th hole in the batting order. Soler started each of the first 2 games. He had 2 hits, scored a run, knocked in a run, also drew a walk last night. 0 for 3, hit by a pitch, scored on the Addison Russell home run. Was a game winner in the 8th inning Monday. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Soler. Soler, like Raisel Iglesias, defected from the island of Cuba. Well, there have been some incredible stories that have been done this spring. Different television outlets traveling to Cuba as, finally for the first time in a long time, anyone's been allowed to go down there and visit family that they may have left behind. And there's really been a lot of good television and some stories that have been told here in the last couple of months, and many of them surrounding baseball players. And one that has not come out yet is one that I know that when we were at the Fox Baseball Seminar, I talked to a group of people who had gone down to Cuba for an extended period of time. And that show is scheduled to air sometime close to the end of this month here on Fox. And I am told that of all the television work that has been done so far, this is going to be really eye-opening. I had a chance to talk to the producer of that show at length at our Fox Baseball Seminar at the end of February. We'll preview that show this coming Tuesday night when the Reds take on the Colorado Rockies as a part of our Reds Live pregame show. Hoover's coming to the game and walked 2 in a row. Short right field. This is going to fall in a hit. They're going to hold the runner at third, and the Cubs have the bases loaded. Montero is second in 4 at-bats tonight. And while it's true, you can say, yeah, that's bad luck. That's a little bleeder into right, but that bleeder into right doesn't mean anything if you don't walk 2 batters in front of him.
We saw how well Montero hit that ball down the left field line last time. This time Hoover tries to go inside and he just gets just enough.
Addison Russell is 2 for 3 in a game. Has scored a run. And he drops one into right center field to hit. That'll plate 1 run. They're going to hold the runner Soler at third. So one of the walks comes back to bite Hoover.
3 hits for Russell on the night. It was a broken bat. There were splinters of wood all over the infield after he was able to get that ball on the right center field. Right out on the end of the bat. You see, you got to figure that after walking 2 in the inning, giving up a base hit to load the bases, he's looking for a fastball for a strike on the very first pitch. That's what he got. Boy, these sometimes these outings for closers, and JJ is the closer now, can turn really ugly. You go out there, you want to give him an inning of work, and all of a sudden you're run down, you got the bases loaded, the pitching coach is out to talk to you. It just seems like it's been the bottom of the order that has done a whole lot of damage here for the Cubs tonight. And it has. Their 7, 8, and 9 spots tonight have combined for 6 hits, a couple of runs, and 2 runs batted in. And we've got the number 9 spot coming up right now.
Second at bat for Caesar since he came on to hit for the pitcher Hamill in the 6th inning. So you saw Grimm down there in the bullpen. It appears now that it's a non-save situation as it's gone from 3-0 to 4-0. Justin Grimm will come on to pitch the top of the 9th. Walks in this 3-game series by Reds pitchers. .22 walks. Walks, 2 hits in this inning given up by Hoover since he retired the first batter in the inning, Rizzo. And now the Cubs threatening to bust this thing wide open. It was a 3-0 lead when they came to bat here in the bottom of the 8th. They tacked on 2 and they're loaded with 1 out. Fowler has been on base 3 more times tonight. Single, bunt, hit, walk. Copham struck him out in the 7th. But there's one thing you can say about this Cub offense. It has been relentless through the first week and a half of this 2016 season. Every at bat seemingly is 4, 5, 6 pitches and beyond. They lead the major leagues in the number of walks they've drawn. And I'd bet the ranch they lead the league in foul balls.
I'm sure you can look it up somewhere.
Two and one on Fowler. There's the base hit that'll bring in 2 more. And it is 7-0. Fowler on base for the 4th time tonight. Fowler has 6 runs batted in this year. And that's going to be it for Hoover, I would think. Brian Price will come rescue him. So we'll take a break in the action. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Cubs have blown this baby wide open in the bottom of the 8th. outside of the White Sox a number of years ago, putting together that incredible run and winning the World Series. I mean, this is a city that's been itching a long time for good baseball. At the same time, there have been runs by the Cubs and the White Sox, but how about this? Cubs win tonight. They'll be a combined 15-3. Teo pitched another outstanding ball game today for the White Sox. He's a one-time Red Matt Latos. That's 2 in a row for him this year.
He has done a nice job over there. 6 innings of one-run baseball.
There's a fly ball into shallow center. And Jay Bruce with a nice sliding catch and a throw back to first, and nobody was standing at first base. Votto had gone to cut the throw off to the plate, which is where he's supposed to go. And Bruce tried to throw behind the runner leading off of first base. There wasn't a player, nor should there have been a player, within 40 feet of first base. Votto comes in to handle the cutoff in case the runner's trying to tag to come in to score from third base. And that's where he should be.
Boy, how do you explain that?
Obviously, no sac fly, no RBI for Hayward. That is just a straight error on Jay Bruce. And here's Zobrist, the 9th man to bat in this Chicago 8th inning. A 5-run 8th inning. Oh-2 delivery and a check swing. And Zobrist did not go around. Zobrist is flied out to right, drawn a walk, knocked in one with a fly ball to center in the 5th, and fly to left, ending the 7th inning. 3-0 has become 8-0 here in the Chicago 8th inning. Now that'll play all 5 of these runs in the inning. Charged to J.J. Hoover. One of them right now is an unearned run. That could change. Some of you might be wondering, well, how would that change? Well, if this batter were to get a base hit, that runner would have scored from third base. And this is popped up into foul ground. Just beyond the reach of Pacheco. Gave it a good effort to try and run it down. Jumbo thought that was strike 3. He was on his way back to the dugout, but apparently off the inside corner with a fastball. 2-2. You be the judge. Not by much.
Boy, hard to take.
Nine-man bat, 5 score. Cubs are 3 outs away from a 3-game sweep here in Wrigley Field. Bang! Fireworks Fridays every Friday the rest of the summer. We started on Friday, April the 22nd. Reds and these Cubs, and you can come down for as low as $12. Stick around after the game. Big fireworks spectacular. Thanks to Thomas More College. April the 22nd. Come on down to the ballpark. April in the OHIO moves to St. Louis. Reds take on the Cardinals beginning tomorrow. Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecoro and company get everything started. Reds live at 7:30. Our game coverage at 8. April in the OHIO presented by Meyer. There you get a look at the pitching matchups the first 2 games. Reds are thanking John Moscott for the series finale. Hoping he's ready to go and come off the disabled list. Chris Welsh will be joined tomorrow night by his longtime partner and our good friend and yours, George Grand, in the booth tomorrow night along with Jim Day.
That is Justin Grimm on the mound for the Cubs, the right-hander who was a middle reliever for the Cubs last year. Came over here in the Matt Garza trade, kind of a forgotten guy, but he was very key to the Cubs last year. Had 15 holds, 3 saves. Hard throw with a 94, 95 mile an hour fastball. Saw his strikeout rate spike up last year. He got up to throw as soon as the save situation disappeared with all the runs the Cubs scored at the last inning. So Jay Bruce with a couple of hits, 1 to left field and now 1 to right field.
the Reds, that is their first hit since the one-out double in the 6th inning by Jay Bruce. And only their 5th hit overall in the game tonight. Jay's been on base, as Chris mentioned, 3 times, 2 hits and a walk. And here's Duvall, 0 for 3. Well, if you're the Reds, of course, you basically have 2 options. You know, you can walk around feeling sorry for yourself after the game tonight, and you can carry that right into the weekend series against the Cardinals. And of course, no one's going to feel sorry for you. I mean, it was only 3 days ago the Reds were 5-1. This ball is blasted down the left field line off the bat of Duvall, and that's off the wall. Bruce on his way to third, and Duvall in with a double. And that is his 4th double so far this season.
He's a powerfully built young man, Duvall is, and he's got, if you ever shake his hands, it's like shaking hands with a concrete block. And he just rips that ball right against the ivy and the brick. Oh, you're right, Tom. I mean, there are 2 ways to look at it, because I guarantee you, when you get into Busch Stadium on tomorrow night, that place will be packed. They'll be looking for blood. The Cardinals fans will. And you can limp in there and feel sorry for yourselves, or you can just wipe the slate clean and say it's a brand new day. That's the one thing that baseball offers you that so many other sports don't. You lose a couple, 3 games in a row in the NFL, and you can oftentimes write it off.
Oh, yeah.
In baseball, you wash it off and you get them the next day.
I mean, college football, you lose 1 game.
Yeah.
One ball and 1 strike on Pacheco. Grimm out there working like he's getting paid by the hour. Now he finally okays a sign with his catcher. And the 2-1 is fouled away to even the count. Jumbo Diaz goes 2/3 of an inning with a strikeout, no runs. Got the final 2 outs here in that 5-run Cubs bottom of the 8th inning. Shallow center field, coming hard and able to run it down as Fowler got a great jump on that ball, and the runners stay put. Here comes Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart is lined to second base. He has singled into center field and looked at strike 3 against Travis Wood as a right-handed batter in the 7th inning. First 2 at-bats of the game against the starter Hamill from the left side. Second and third, 1 out. And ground ball to short will bring in a run. So the Reds get on the board on the ground out by Barnhart. His first RBI of the season. So the Reds avoid the shutout. Here's Schebler coming off the Reds bench. Breaking ball in there, and even the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Cubs went out away from going to 8-1 on this season. And what a start for Joe Maddon's team. Could be just a 6th time ever, and the first since all the way back in that very famous or infamous 1969 Cub team. They won 11 of its first 12, and of course then they would have one of the great collapses in the history of Major League Baseball. I mean, they were the best team in the National League until about the last 3.5, 4 weeks of the season. 2-2. The strike 3 call, and that's the old ball game. Reds get a run in the 9th. They get 2 hits. And they lose 3 straight to the Cubs.